Welcome to Traveling Oracle, the magical podcast, where we talk energetics, spirituality, and how you can use this etheric knowledge to drastically change, transform, and up-level all areas of your life. Are you ready for the glow up? Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Traveling Oracle, a magical podcast. Again, I'm super excited to have you all here because I have a very special guest who I met in a very special place, one of my most favorite places in the world, because it's a place where I got my biggest spiritual awakening. And the guest today is Sinead, and I'm going to let her say her last name because I will mess it up every time. Sinead, what is your last name?
Hegarty. No, I know even people can't really say Sinead either. So I always tell people how you would say lemonade in your accent. People get it then because people will be like Sinead, and then they try to say it in my accent. And I'm like, no, how you say lemonade? It's like Sinead.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I say Sinead because I say lemonade.
Yeah. And I only know how to pronounce it because of Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah, there you go. Without Sinead O'Connor, I do not know what I would do without her. No one would know my name. So thank you, Sinead O'Connor. We're grateful for you.
That's hilarious. So my podcast is very free flowing. So I don't have a bunch of questions and structured questions to ask you. The topic is loosely around meditation and how that's impacted your life and changed your life. And I know I met you and I added you on Instagram and I looked at all your content, your brand is centered heavily around meditation. Mm-hmm. So I like to ask people, firstly, how did you get into meditation?
So I think with meditation, it kind of came in, I've been studying 4 years now, so it must be 5 years that I started hearing it, and obviously when I started hearing about it, it was very, hippy dippy, I even remember when I was a kid, or younger, and my friend's dad meditated, and I was like, what the fuck, it was very taboo when I was whenever I was starting to hear about it. But anyway, I started obviously I've been researching and reading books and all this for 5 years, and this word meditation was coming up constantly. And even in the most successful people, if you're reading autobiographies and you're reading anything about these famous CEOs or people that have gotten to where they are today, meditation is in their routine at all times. So I just kept hearing it, and I was like, okay, I should really try this. And I was kind of into self-development and human behavior because I had went through a really low time in my life, to the point where I definitely could not sleep. I'm sure everyone knows this feeling of rock bottom. If anyone who's preaching about mental health or spirituality or anything, that usually has had an experience where they probably didn't want to be here, and then they found a way to stay here and they found the tools. And I feel meditation was one of my tools, but I didn't know at the time. So it does take a long time to actually get into it and see the benefits. You have to be practicing it, for a long time, at least 2 or 3 months before you can see the full benefits. So I just kind of did a lot of research on it at the time, and started going to classes and had these amazing experiences. And those amazing experiences did not happen straight away. I kind of stuck at it because I knew the benefits, the amazing benefits of meditation, and I stuck at it. And then I remember having I suffered with insomnia. I didn't sleep very well. And obviously after a few months of meditating regularly, I had my first 8 hours of sleep. And to be honest, I think I've had 8 hours of sleep most nights since I've implemented it into my life. And with following your sleep quality follows the quality of your life. Yeah. So that's why I always say people, what is your sleep like at this moment in time? And when your sleep is affected, it really does run and drip into the rest of your day and the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So when I started getting my sleep, then the emotional awareness came, then parts of my personality came through in my meditations. I just came into my full self in all these different meditations that I was doing. And I also just gained this massive amount of clarity and a massive decrease, actually complete loss of anxiety and heart palpitations, if I'm honest. Wow. And I was like, people need to know this tool of life. Yeah. And it is something that I've been pushing and trying to make cool, because like meditation is so hippy dippy. So I've been trying to make it cool. I'm like, hey guys, this can help your relationship, because this can help your sex life. This can help everything. So I've dedicated my life to finding out ways to bring it into the modern day society, without, because if you go into meditation trainings or you go into like your local meditation center, it's very old school, it's very the exact same meditation every week. Whereas my kind of meditations are, I'm kind of more interested in transformational meditation.
Transformation is what we speak about all the time in my brand. Transformation is super important. And I like what you said about changing the face of what meditation looks like, because anytime we do any of these things, it's you have an idea in your mind of maybe a tall white man with a top bun wearing all white, or a lady wearing all white, and it's like, oh, it's just like meditation can look like anything. It can look like any person, wherever you are, whatever you do. Like, and it will help you no matter what. That's super important. And I also like that you mentioned that all the successful people that you've listened to their autobiographies, or you listen to anything they put out, and meditation is like a key element in all of their schedules. And that's the other thing about meditation. People think about it only as something that will help you spiritually. And one of my missions in life is to help people understand that all these things like spirituality and self-development, all these things that we kind of put in the air as hippy dippy, have actual real physical consequences in life and can really help to shape your reality and help to move you in life. And if you're feeling stuck where you are, if you're feeling like you're not moving, you're not developing, these are the tools that you have to employ in your life to start to see changes in your physical world. And so what I want to ask you too as well is, once you started doing that, you mentioned like your mental clarity, your emotional well-being. What about physically? Did you see anything changing in your life, in your reality, that you can tangibly say, oh, this happened, this happened?
100%, because when you're meditating, you become so aware of your own patterns. So when you're sitting there, you notice how negative you are too when you first, like, you're met with a lot of, like, first time meditators are met with monkey mind as well. So which is, an extreme amount of thoughts going at rapid speeds, and people will go into meditation like, I can't calm my mind, I'm going to move away from this.
I'm doing it wrong.
Yes, which is like which scares people away. And this is why you need a guide, and this is why you need a teacher, because you need to understand that you are going to be met with monkey mind, and meditation will just bring awareness to that. So you go in there and you're like, oh, I can't slow down my mind. That monkey mind is controlling your whole life, every minute of every day. So even things like, I'm not good enough, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm not, all these things are ruling your life because you're not stopping that thought and saying, okay, where did that come from? How can I be better? And how can I remove that belief and go forward with a positive mental belief and change that out?
Yeah.
And then
as you say that, before you move on, I just wanted to say too, not only are you not able to stop it, I found that before I started meditating, I wasn't even aware of it. I wasn't aware of those thoughts 100%. At all until I started to do meditation. And then one day I looked in a mirror and I heard myself criticizing myself, like, oh, look at your waistline. Oh, look at that roll. Oh, and because I had started to do meditation for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I heard it and I was like, wait a minute. Have I been saying all these terrible things to myself every time I look in a mirror this whole time? Whereas if someone ever in real life ever looked at me and said those things, I would just shut them down real quick. Yet I was saying that to myself every day. And it's worse when you are the one criticizing and putting yourself down. It's even worse than when other people do it. So that's one of the other like super important things about meditation, that inner awareness, so that you can stop the problem. But if you're not aware, you continue to do it without your knowledge, and these narratives in your head just start to control your life.
Yeah. And the awareness is like literally the main key for like everything that you will bring into your life. Like, for example, you're talking about your waistline. I was very similar. I remember, and I actually don't even remember what I thought about prior to meditation, prior to my awareness coming in. I was like, what did I think about? I don't know. So once I run this awareness in, I'm like, okay, constantly criticizing myself. You said you were constantly criticizing yourself. And with meditation, you start to understand these thoughts, right? The first bit is like, okay, there's the thought. Okay, where is that thought coming from? Usually thoughts are coming from conditioned patterns from when you were growing up, when you were a kid, from the media, everything. And like none of these thoughts are true. So if I'm on the beach and I see this girl with an amazing body, I'm like, oh, my body feels like shit. When in fact, the meditation will get the awareness front and you're going to go, no. that girl's body is like the beauty standard that somebody made up once upon a time in the middle of diet culture that we got caught up when we were in our teenagers. Now things are changing and people love everyone and people love all shapes and sizes. And do you know, I always think about how I love other people and how I never look at their body. So why am I looking at my body like it should be something different? And these are all the benefits and things that you get from meditation. And even like, you're asking about the physical well-being and you think like your mind is not affecting your physical. So I always tell you, like, even this kind of trigger is the difference between having a loving positive thought, a negative thought, and these different thoughts and how they affect your body. So people think that you just think a negative thought, it's just in your mind, when in fact it is affecting your body and how it feels. Now, I want you to think about a sexual thought. Okay, now think about the hottest fucking sex you've ever had. All right, that does something chemical to your hormones. That gets you prepared.
That's
that gets
so
you
true.
going.
That's such a good example.
And that is just a thought in your brain. All right, so that's a thought in your brain, and that is literally causing hormones and chemicals in your body in order for you to get ready to have a sexual experience. All right, so if you're thinking angry, resentful thoughts, if you're jealous of someone, all right, an angry thought brings adrenaline. It stops your body from digesting because you're angry. You know what I mean? This is affecting your body and how it's healing. So you are literally producing these sort of bad hormones in order to produce fear. All right. And when you're in fight or flight or you're in fear mode, what is your body doing? Your body is putting blood into the limbs. It's taking blood away from the organs, away from your digestive organs in order for you to run and fight. All right. So a lot of people with digestive problems is got to do with the nervous system. So it's very key to spend your day understanding that these fearful thoughts will bring these chemical reactions and hormones in your body. Whilst if I ask you to I want you to think of someone that you love so much. It's usually like a grandparent that comes to mind for me. They're so fucking cute, or they're so cute, or like a niece or a nephew, even if they're like, you know, even if your grand has passed, thinking about them and that loving thing, like imagine they're right in front of you, and just take a breath because people need to imagine it. And just imagine how you feel and how much you love them. All right. This is a loving emotion, a loving thought. This produces loving hormones. All right. So these hormones reduce inflammation, they promote growth, and they are producing healing hormones in our body.
And I can feel the difference from when you were talking about the angry emotions, and then you were talking about the sexual thoughts, and you were talking about a loved one or something that brings you joy. I can feel the shift in my energy when I think about those things.
Yes.
That's super powerful. And when you were talking about how, it's interesting that you brought up how the chemicals are released in your body, because I never thought about it in that detail. I just knew the end result. So that's super powerful to know that the science behind it. Because even, what was it, 2 days ago, I was watching a documentary on Gaia, and they were talking about the experiment that showed that you can program water, right? Where a scientist accidentally dropped an ampule with like poison in a jar of water, and she just left it for a few days, didn't bother about it. And the ampule was completely sealed. It wasn't like a twisty thing where anything could leak out. It was completely sealed from the manufacturer. So I think she left it for about 3 or 4 days. Eventually, she took it out, and instead of wasting the water, she decided to give it to some of the lab rats. And she just poured it in there. She made sure she looked, there was nothing leaking out. And she poured the water in to give to the lab rats. The rats drank it, and a few hours later, they all died. And she said, "Oh shit. Some of the poison probably leaked out." So she tested the water. There was not one chemical trace of that poison in the water. And that's when they began the experiment, and they realized that the water was programmed with the information from the poison. The poison didn't get in the water. The water absorbed the programming from the poison and then went on to poison from that program. And when you think about it, we are how many percentage of water? A whole bunch of percentage, which means that our thoughts can program our bodies in that way. We retain the majority of what we think about. And that's why things like meditation is super important. So you can be aware of your mind and you can change the sort of thoughts that you think. Another thing that's really I mean, it's become super trendy, but it's super important for life is manifestation. And that's the same concept with manifestation. That's why meditation is so important. And I preach it on my podcast. I preach it everywhere I go because not only does it help your mind and your body, but it helps you with manifesting and shifting the energy in your life and starting to draw opportunities towards you. And so, do you have any experience with like meditation helping you with manifestation of even like wealth or anything like that?
Yeah, like I feel like it's, it's so mad. It's like I'm seeing this massive trend on TikTok at the minute, and it's like about Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
And it's mad because that was my first ever book that I had ever read in terms of like spirituality. And when I read that book, I literally like went by Bible, like it was my first book. Your first book, you don't criticize it, you just fucking do everything. So I did everything in that, like as in like I visualized my whole life. I brought all these positive emotions to my visualizations, like imagining and feeling all these emotions and really stepping away from all the negative self-doubt and then also uncovering all the things that were holding me back.
Yeah.
And then I definitely feel like I'm sitting in my manifest at the moment. Like I sit in my like visualizations that I never thought I would get because I changed how my brain thought about myself and how my brain thought about the future. So yeah, I definitely am a big believer in manifesting. I feel like everything I have manifested. Like even yesterday, I was, there was something like I've manifested a lot, but I noticed that like a lot of my friends are, especially in Sydney, there's not really many nomads. It's more like people go to work, and I was like before I went to Sydney, I was like I need to manifest like-minded people into my life and people that I can spend time with, like when I'm working during the day. And like yesterday, there's like 5 of us sitting at my table, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Like I believe that I deserved it. I believe that like it was going to happen, and like just little things like that. Like I do a lot of visualizations and manifesting as well, because it really does change the energy of how you're feeling as well. Like because we're so stuck in our negative thought patterns that sometimes we forget to go to our happy place, and you can go to your happy place in meditation as well, and also producing those like love hormones and those loving emotions for other people. It's
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really, I'm doing a program right now called Unleash, that's a manifesting container, and that's kind of what we're talking about. It's the fact that you can't get something you want while sitting in the energy of something you don't want. You can't be wanting like financial freedom and wealth and abundance while sitting in the energy of I never have enough. I can't do this. I'll never be financially free, and it's crazy because some people think, oh, actually everything is fine because I know I want financial freedom. I know I want this. I know I want that. But they're not understanding that wanting and sitting in the energy of and changing your beliefs are completely different things, which is why a lot of people in the world right now are working so hard towards their goals and they're not getting anywhere. And they're wondering, why is it that I'm putting in so much work? I'm trying so hard. I'm working my butt off and nothing is changing for me. It's because you have to change your inside. You have to change your thoughts. You have to first become aware of your thoughts. And that's like a powerful message that I feel like is my purpose on the planet, to try to get people to understand the importance of changing their inner world first, changing the blueprint first, and then they'll start to see like shifts in their physical world. So
I think I always, this is like my main switch in life. The person that needs nothing attracts everything. And that is like, and I got my first stint of this. So I was doing a lot of spiritual growth. I was living in Thailand at the time. And I was living in Thailand, and I'd sort of like given up my job over here in Australia, and I was like, I need to just like have time to figure out what it is that I want. I can't afford to live here, so I'm going to go over to Thailand. Now I was living in a hut in Thailand, and I was doing lots of meditation, lots of reading. I was kind of like quite a bit of a loner at this time. I was kind of by myself. I was reading a lot, and I was living in this little tiny hut. And I remember in that moment being like, I need nothing else than this tiny hut over my head and this book in my mind and my mindset. And I remember like, it does not matter if I get all the riches in the world, if I get all the success, I have this, I have my mind, and that is it. And I'm not even joking. I just remember that is the moment that everything attracted to me. I
Wow.
just remember, because I needed nothing, I knew that I was so grateful for everything that I had in that moment. As long as I had a roof over my head
Yeah.
and I had this, and I was making like, I think I was making like £5 a week or something like this. And I remember it was like the bare minimum, and being like, whatever happens in life, I can go back to this.
Yeah.
I can go back to this moment and be here and like, you know, work on some, like, because when you go into survival mode, when you've no money, like you figure out how to get your food on the table, you figure everything out. And I'm really like, this is all I need in life forever. And I remember flying home that like within like a few months or whatever, and just everything, I feel just everything. And I was just like, it's because I needed nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything because I didn't need the big deal. I didn't need the big house. I didn't need the car. I knew that like if I had a hut, if I had a book, and if I had meditation in my mind, all was good. So I definitely feel like and I think that's what you need to work on. If you are living in lack, know that no matter what will happen, if you can be okay. That was just a big life lesson.
Love that message. I love it because it's saying that the key to everything you want is that inner journey to yourself. And just being satisfied with who you are, finding out who you are, because that space that you had was super important when you talked about just being in the hut, being by yourself. Because when I see you on social media now, you're always surrounded by people, right? And so to hear that you were a loner at first is like, oh, okay, because you always have your friends around, you're always posting, doing things with your friends. So I'm like, okay, so before this period of traveling the world in the way that you do, having all these friends around you, having a good time like this, you had a period of loneliness. A lot of time people think, oh, I'm alone. Oh, I don't have much friends. Like this is just the end. And it's like kind of like, no, this is just the beginning. Like sometimes life puts you in those places because life knows this is where you need to go through first to get to where you are, to handle what you're gonna have in the end. And I said this on the last podcast that I recorded with another guest, and it's weird because all of these guests that I'm interviewing, it's all coming back to basically the same thing, because I was reading this book called what was it called? The something experiment, where this guy, he went into just solitude and meditation.
Yeah.
And like you, he was just like, I just want to go in the woods and just be alone and meditate. And he just did that for such a long time. And around this man, while he was in the woods meditating, saying, this is all I need, I don't need anything else, a multi-million-dollar company formed over the space of like 5 years, just him in the woods. And all of a sudden somebody came and wanted to build a land here, build a house here, build this here. Somebody came and wanted to do this, and he started a temple. And just through just finding himself by being alone, life brought to him. He didn't go out and look. Life brought to him all the things far beyond what he could imagine. So that's really powerful about just being okay if you're in the time in your life where there's just more solitude. It's just more about you being by yourself. Don't look at it as a bad thing, because when we look on social media, sometimes we can feel like, oh, if we're not surrounded by friends, if we're not just always going out for drinks, we're not living a good life. It's like, if you're in that solitude period, use it, because it's the powerful period in your life that's going to propel you forward to more.
Yeah. And it's like that feeling of inner peace. It's like nothing can, whatever happens on the outside, you cannot take away my inner peace that I have, got from meditating, reading books. And once you know that like nothing can disturb your inner peace, because fear comes from attachment. When you're attached to a certain job for happiness, friends for happiness, a partner for happiness, you are literally saying to the universe that you need other things in order to be happy. And that is when fear comes. Fear comes from attachment. And when you meditate, like it doesn't happen every time. Like you will literally sometimes get this feeling of like, you just like kind of like melt or something. There's like this feeling of like meltness, and you can't describe it to. You can't even describe it when you're doing research. You can't describe it. It's like so hard to describe. Like it's this feeling of just like everything is going to be okay. If I close my eyes, and no matter what happens on the outside, it's going to be okay. And once you have this feeling, everything does just attract you, and you get, and all this stuff is a plus. It's not attachment. You're not attached to this job, person, people. You literally have your inner peace. So if all this goes away, if this friend does this to you, if this job loses, it does not matter. And I think like if you're listening to this now and you actually feel a little bit of fear, like a fear of losing your job, a fear of losing your partner, then this is what you need to work on right now, because that fear is, you know, living inside you. Whereas if you know that you have your own self and inner happiness, no matter what happens, trust me, everything just fucking forms in your face, and it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and you're just not attached. The fear just melts away. And that's why it's so important to do solitude. Like I did solitude, you know, I went traveling on my own and I did all that solitude and all that work. And it is important to go away and do these things, like even like retreats and like just things on your own, like take away all your attachments and just have you. And then when you're comfortable with you, then you literally can just go out into the world without fear. You're not attached.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, because in another one of my coaching programs, the basis of it is that the only thing you have in this world is your mind, your body, and your spirit, right? And so connecting deeply with that and balancing those things is super important. Like the only thing you have in this world, like people can take everything else away from you, but your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so I always say it's reckless to just walk this earth without truly connecting to those three things, truly understanding those three things. And once you connect with those three things and you balance those three things, everything else in your world, everything else in your orbit will just start to kind of just balance out and figure themselves out, basically. And the other thing is that life wants you to live in a happy, expressive, good, I can't even find all the adjectives away. Like sometimes we think that letting go means we won't ever get what we want, right? And what I've realized through my own meditations or reading other people's like books or experiences is whatever it is that you can think or imagine that you want for your life, I guarantee you life wants to give you like 10 times bigger than what you could fathom in your mind. So if you're worried that, oh, I kind of want to live this life, but if I don't push and like strive for it, I won't get it. Listen, once you let go and connect within, you'll get that and more. Way more than your little brain could ever think of. Life will give it to you, but you have to connect within. So that is really beautiful. And I want to go back to your brand, because I know you have a lot of courses for meditations. Like, do you want to talk a bit about that? So if anyone wants to connect with you, they can.
Yeah. So I began my, teaching in meditation because I had so much love for meditation, and I just kept telling people, and they were like, where do I start? And people would go on YouTube and they'd be like, I can't do it. And, there's always this like thing that people say, oh, you need to clear your mind. And, I wish I could just get that person and like tell them how to meditate, because obviously they've like scared people into, if I can't clear my mind, I can't meditate. Yeah. And to be honest, it's never been about that. It's always about you being in control of your emotions and your emotions not being in control of you. You've been able to sit back with those emotions and being like, they're not taking over me. I'm not triggered. Like, obviously you can get triggered, but like, you can be like, okay, there's a trigger. How do I move forward from this? So it's all about like being more in control of your life and your emotions. And also like, there's so many outdated versions of meditation that people really cannot. And it's the same thing, the same voice, the same thing. And for me, I became really interested in transformational meditation, which is bringing in like hypnotherapy, NLP, in order to change the language of your brain and find out who you truly, truly are. And once you find who you are, then you can have resilience and you can move forward with who you want to be and have more boundaries in your life. So I started a course called the Finding Yourself. It's the Brave Way 21-day meditation course. And it's all about finding yourself. And it's about manifesting, visualization. But the first section is all about, we teach how to meditate properly. We don't actually say, sit down and just try to meditate. Like, we teach you the steps, what's going to come up for you and what expectations you will have. Because people are met with some crazy things when they first meditate. And they're met with like, a bit of sometimes people get headaches. Sometimes people really can't deal with it. And it's just like, we teach you like the expectations so that when these things arise, then we can get through them together. So we'll do that. The first section is all about clarity, figuring out exactly who you are and what brings you joy. The thing people ask me all the time is, Sinead, I'm stuck in a rut. How can I get out of this rut? And I'm like, what is it that you want? Yeah. And they're like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, no. Yep.
Okay. So, and you know what? And people still to this day ask me about advice. And I'm like, you know the answer.
Yeah.
If you quiet your mind in terms of like, you listen to your own intuition, because people know the answer. And that's what the first bit is about. The first bit is about following your own joy, finding out what brings you joy. Because once you find out what exactly brings you joy, you can put boundaries in place. Like when we go through, we have a meditation called Following Joy. And for example, it will be like, okay, what brings you joy in your career? Like we do different sections, but let's just say career. You know, in my career, I love to be able to have enough money to give to charity. Okay, so how can I do this? How can I move forward? So once you have all the things that bring you joy, then you can move towards them. Like some people have no joy in their work, and I'm like, okay, that's a sign. Yeah. But there is things like sometimes you can find joy in like talking to people. Sometimes people find joy in just creative, and these things like build your dream life. Yeah. And then the next section is about building that dream life in your visualizations and really feeling into that motion. So we can't visualize unless we know what we want. So we know we get our clarity, find out who we are, we remove blocks. And then we go into visualization and manifestation. And then the last section is all about self-belief and removing self-doubt and removing blocks. Because how can we visualize and manifest exactly what, like you say, let's just say you want to be a millionaire, right? Do you really believe you want to be a millionaire? What beliefs do you have holding you back from money? And how can we go through them and access self-belief and remove beliefs and self-doubt in order to move forward to believe we deserve or dream life, you know? Because if I say to you, what's your dream day? And you've been programmed by your parents, by your life, that you have to work every single day of your life in order to live life. Like all I've known in life is my mom and dad just want me to have a nice computer job working 9 to 5. All right. So I'm programmed that I do not deserve my dream day. All right. And then you have to go into the reasons why you have all these beliefs, how to get past them, how to abolish them and move forward with, I actually fucking deserve this life, just like this other person deserves it. So that's what we go through, because you can't just like visualize and manifest with like believing you deserve it. And when you believe you deserve it, like there's such a different feeling about, if you say a thought, right? If you say words, sometimes your body and your feeling doesn't match it. Like an example is if you say, I'm sexy. Yeah. Say it.
I'm sexy.
Yeah, you feel it.
I feel it.
Right. If anyone's listening, say, I'm sexy. You say something out your mouth and you can speak it, but sometimes you don't feel it. Yeah. All right. And then you have to look for evidence. All right. So have you ever had, sorry, is this like, I'm like being so MPG. I'm talking about sex a lot.
That's right.
But, you know, if you've ever had sex with a man or a woman and they have completed the action, you're sexy. There's so much evidence to, and like you have to look at the evidence. So if you're like, I want to be successful, right? And you don't feel it in your body, look at all the evidence of like other people that have been successful, the reasons why you can be successful and times you have been successful in your life. And even looking at role models and stuff like that can really, really help you understand, because you could say, I can't be successful because I didn't come from money. Please look at other people that have been successful and have not come from money.
Absolutely.
And then you will start to gather evidence so that your belief is actually felt within your body rather than like, I can't be this, you know? Yeah. So,
and sometimes we don't realize how ridiculous the beliefs that we hold are. Because like you just mentioned, the idea that I don't come from money, so I can't have a lot of money. Like that's such a ridiculous belief when you look at it, because there are so many stories around about from rags to riches, people who came from nothing, even less than you have, and have risen to riches. So when you start to do this work, you also realize how ridiculous some of the beliefs are that you hold without your knowledge. And again, this is why actions like meditation are super important, because a lot of these beliefs that you have, you don't realize that you have them. Right? You're unaware because you haven't cultivated that inner awareness. So things like meditation not only help you with your emotions, not only help you with calming your mind and things like that, but it helps you to cultivate a spirit of inner awareness so you can identify the beliefs that are holding you back. Because before I started, I, of course, was working towards financial freedom. I was like, yeah, I know I can have money. I know I can get money. Look at this girl over there. She's doing it. She can get money. I can get money. But I didn't realize I had a belief system that said I never have enough. There's never enough money, because I grew up seeing, even though my parents had enough money for us to survive and live a good life, they were always like super budgeting to a point where it created anxiety. Like as a child, I would see that. And so when I started to do meditation, I realized I had that inner anxiety. Even when I had enough money, my nervous system was like, there's never enough money. There's never enough money. And so what I would do is subconsciously act out that belief system. I would just go on these huge shopping sprees. And I'm like, why did I just do that? I don't need all of this stuff. And because your subconscious stories, they really sit in the driver's seat of your life and allow you to do actions where you're like, afterwards, you're like, why did I do that? Like, you don't know why you did certain things. That happens all the time with people in relationships who have negative subconscious stories around relationships and whether or not they deserve it. You'll find that you find a partner that is absolutely doing all the things you wanted a partner to do. And then all of a sudden you start to sabotage your own relationship. You're like, holy shit, why did I say that? Why did I do that? That's not actually how I feel. It's because these negative subconscious stories sit in your brain and they make you act out things that you're like, what is going on? So if you're feeling things like that, where you're behaving in ways that you're like, are counterproductive to what you actually want, that's a big indicator that you have a lot of subconscious stories that are running your life without your permission. So I love your program and that it actually goes into the subconscious mind to help you to root that out. Because a lot of people try to do manifestation and stuff like that with just like manifestation techniques, like 555, write things under your pillow. It's like, you can do that till like the end of the earth. If you don't change your belief system, you're just doing activities like that have no effect.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, super powerful.
Yeah, it's just like the subconscious mind is a minefield, and it takes so long to even get through it.
Yeah.
But like, you have to start the work now. And then that's why people are like, oh, manifesting doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't believe. Like, you can't just visualize things. Like, there's a whole process behind it. And yeah, and the meditation course really gets there. And then it's 21 days as well. So it gets you into the habit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's literally been my dream as well. And I've had so many amazing reviews and so many amazing things. And I've been doing this for so long. And finally, the best thing about the course as well is that every single day is something different, because this generation don't like to sit and do the same thing every day. Yeah. And we need to modernize it. And every single day, like, everyone gets really excited because they can unlock the new meditation. Like, what am I going to learn about myself today? Yeah, and it's all about like really learning about yourself and just, and yeah, and like, there's so many amazing benefits to meditation as well as like uncovering your beliefs. Like, something simple as like, you have better relationships with your with everyone whenever you have this pause. Like, one of the best benefits ever is the pause. And it's that moment before you react, before your emotions take control. Yep. Like, I'm sure people here have said things that they regret. Yep. In the heat of the moment. Whilst when you start to become a regular meditator, you see yourself playing that out, and yep. You can take a step back and you really have this pause before you react, because we're so triggered by so many different things throughout our lives. Like, you know, a good example of this is, you know, if you've been cheated on, if you're with a new man and you've been cheated on previously, if he's out all night, or say he doesn't come home after dinner or after work, he comes home a few hours later, you are triggered immediately. This man is cheating on me. This man is this man, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So when he comes through the door, you treat him with suspicion. Mm-hmm. And when you're being treated with suspicion as another person, when you've done something wrong, not anything wrong, you're like, what the fuck? You are a psycho. You're this. Like, why are you saying that I'm doing this? I literally just went out for dinner with my friends, when in fact, you can sit back and be like, okay, I feel triggered. Like, my heart is getting faster. I feel really anxious. I'm triggered because of, is it something that he did, or is it something that you're triggered from in your past? Mm-hmm. So you can sit back and be like, okay, I'm triggered. I'm feeling really anxious because I've been cheated on in the past. Has this person cheated on me? Is there evidence of this right now, of this person doing this? And instead of him coming through the door and you treat him with suspicion, you treat him with compassion. You say, okay, hey, where have you been? Sorry, I've been a little bit anxious because of my past. Just with like a little bit of reassurance of where you were, and like maybe a text whenever you're going to be late. And this is how your relationships get better. And yeah, because you have this pause. It happens with everyone, your friends, your family. You have this moment of like, okay, why am I feeling like this? Is there evidence? And you just have this pause, and your whole life changes. I
like to think of it as like you go into observer mode. Like I've experienced that when I started meditation, like really religiously. I experienced that as well, where I would be in situations and normally I would just go boom, 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 because my tongue is quick and my spirit is fiery, right?
Yeah.
So I would just go boom, boom, boom. But now I will observe the thoughts. I will observe the emotions. I'm like, I'm starting to feel this way. I'm starting to do this. And then I can take a pause and say, okay, is this warranted? Like you said, is this warranted, or am I, overreacting, or am I bringing up hurt from my past? And then I can say, okay, Akil, let's look at it this way. Let's do it this way. And it helps, especially even in like work environments for people who have like 9 to 5s. Like sometimes the work environment can be very hard to navigate. I used to have a supervisor who used to she just knew how to get under my skin. And so being able to observe thoughts and think rationally before I respond, it's like, okay, I want to say this, but how is that going to play out after I say it? Is it going to get me the result I actually want? Or is it just going to get me fired? Or is it just going to hurt this person's feelings? Like it allows you the space to think, because I used to be that person who after an event happened, I'll be like, oh, you know what? I should have said this instead. You know what? Actually, it felt good in the moment, but I don't have what I want. The other person doesn't have what they want. Like, what did any of that accomplish? So that's really going into observer mode. That's really an important thing that helps to shift your life forever. Your relationships, like you said, especially with even parents, how you respond to your kids. Because I don't have any kids, but I have a lot of friends who have kids, and parenting is hard. And sometimes it's hard to not respond in the way that you were parented and try to be better parents. That's a really good technique to help you with that as well.
Yeah. I love that. And then you're also, sorry, did you want to finish?
No, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, like, even when you are reacting like that out of your emotions, usually you're acting out of your emotions because you're feeling of fear and you're feeling like you're not good enough and you're feeling like insecure. And it usually comes from a place of like insecurity. These lashes out, or where you do something stupid, like, you want to do something to impress your friends. And then like a good example is when you're a kid, like if your friends are doing something, you just do it because you don't love yourself enough. You need them to like you. So you just do what they're doing. Like, for example, if you steal something, like I remember doing that as a kid, like them all stealing stuff in the shop. So I stole something. And then, so you've done something out of your emotion, you've done something out of insecurity, then you're met with guilt and shame. So you're sitting there thinking, I'm such a bad person, and you've got all these things going on in your head, and then you just feel this overwhelming feeling of like guilt and shame. But that's why it's so important to like know yourself, have your self-love, have your validation, and like step back. And yeah, we're human beings. We are going to still use our emotions and lash out, but we're going to be more in control. And then when we're more in control, we won't feel that feeling of guilt and shame for all the things that we regret. And we're going to get to know ourselves a little bit more. So yeah, meditation is mostly about getting to know yourself, for sure. Especially guided meditation. It's so important to get to know yourself through asking questions to your like subconscious. And like when you're actually by yourself, your intuition will come out. So yeah.
I like that, because as an adult now, it's like it's important to make sure that your actions are rooted in what you truly want to do, and not from triggers, or like you said, like trying to fit in or trying not to feel less than, and you do all these things. It's like, no, once I started to meditate, all of my actions, because you're not perfect, right? Things are gonna
we're not perfect,
and that's okay.
Shit happens.
Yeah. But
people trigger us more than others.
But most of my actions are rooted in, I am doing this, I am saying this, I'm behaving in this way because I've made a conscious decision to do so. Not out of fear, not out of I'm not enough, not out of even other people manipulating me, because even that is something that meditation helps you with as well, because you can slow down enough to see, why would that person say that? They're trying to trigger me to say this. You can see manipulation a lot better. And that's really helpful if you're in any sort of relationship with, partners who behave like this. You can better identify it. Like, okay, this person is trying to manipulate me. I'm going to consciously decide to react this way, not in the way that they're trying to trigger me into reacting. So it's really helpful all around. And I wanted to say thank you so much, Sinead, for coming on here and talking about meditation. And guys, if you want to join her program, if you want to catch up with her, I'll put all her information in the show notes below. Is it best for them to email you or just go on Instagram or what?
Yeah, I just go on Instagram. Like my Instagram is at Sinead Haig, or my company's is The Brave Way. So either of them, or they can get it at thebraveway.co. That will get them onto the course as well. It's all there.
Okay, perfect. And
So
guys,
thank you so much.
no problem. I was about to say to them, guys, she's so entertaining on Instagram. When I tell you this girl is always on her stories, I feel like I know a play-by-play of your life from your story.
I know. I'm just like, and then it's weird because like if I haven't put up something up, I'm like, oh God, I'm like, I need to let them know I'm okay or something. Like I'm just like so used. I've literally been on my Instagram stories for 5 years, so it's like a day that I don't do it. I don't know. I really enjoy it. Like it's one of my favorite things, and I'm like, oh, I have to update everyone. I miss them if I'm like away or something.
And I love that it's so natural for you because sometimes when you look at people's stories, you'll see it looks like they're putting on. Like when I watch your stories, it feels like I'm just right there in your group of friends, just having a good time with y'all. Like, I absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sinead.
Thank you so much.
Here. And so guys, I will see you guys in the next episode. I don't know what it's going to be because you know I love to flow and just be free. But if you have any questions for Sinead, I will have everything down below, and I will see you guys in my next episode.